I'm Barbara Gregorich, and I want to talk about one of the ways in which I gave my new novel, Exit Velocity, a bit more texture and depth. The main character in Exit Velocity is a young woman named Rowan Pickett. Rowan rides her bike all over the city of Chicago. She rows boats on the Chicago River. She rows on an erg machine, and she is a sharpshooter. Now, I think I wanted to show another side to all this hard metal, the metal in the bike, the erg machine, the guns, and so I chose something soft. I made Rowan a crocheter in addition to the other things that she does. She has been crocheting since she was in first grade, and she crochets almost exclusively granny squares. I grew up with a mother who loved crocheting. These are two of the things she crocheted in the 1950s. They're both long table runners. As my brother and I would be lying on the floor watching television, my mother was sitting behind us on a chair, crocheting away at a very rapid pace without missing a stitch. She used very fine crochet hooks and mercerized cotton thread. If you look at the crochet hooks in the visual here, you can see that the thickest one is at the top and the thinnest one is at the bottom. I don't remember if my mother tried to teach me how to crochet, but I do remember doing something with these crochet hooks and drawing blood in my fingertips. So I decided at a very early age that that kind of crocheting was not for me. But as it turns out, in the 1960s and 70s, I was hit by the granny square craze that swept the country. There are probably millions of items left from those days that you can buy in thrift shops or Etsy or some such place. I was smitten by granny squares and I taught myself how to crochet them. I made all kinds, unlike Rowan, my character, I made all kinds of items under, from the granny squares. I have none of those left and I no longer have photos of them, but they were identical to what you see here. I made caps and hats. I made vests and scarves and sweaters, tote bags, shawls, and bedspreads. I remember I made a king-size bedspread that I think took me a year and a half to crochet and then stitch all those squares together. One of the things I liked about the granny squares, in addition to the colors, the softness of the yarn, and the creativity, was the fact that I got to use aluminum hooks, which never drew blood. They were much bigger than those lethal crochet hooks that my mother used. After about 10 years of crocheting granny squares, I went on to other things and I sort of left crochet behind me for another 20 years or so. And I did pick it up again, but not with granny squares. I called on my knowledge of crochet and my love of crochet when I was writing Exit Velocity, when I came to feel that Rowan needed another side to her character. And so that's how I kind of resurrected my interest in granny squares. And just in case you think that crochet is not important to a novel about working class justice, it is. It plays a very important role in the friendship between Rowan and her best friend, Keisha. It plays a role in the relationship between Rowan and her mother, and it turns out to be life-saving.